being from West Texas, you see a lot of that hard work mentality. Kind of get that oil field mentality of working in the oil fields. Everybody you know or relatives or somebody, one point or another, is working in the oil field. But I never felt it like truly fulfill my passion. And so that's what I did. Right out of high school, I started working in the oil fields. I wasn't excited to go to work the next day. You know? I think I was like 24 at the time. I saw an accident happen at work that day. This is really like eye-opening. Like you could be here today and gone tomorrow, or you can get hurt and not have, being able to work or provide for your family. I had a passion for cooking. I don't want to follow my passion. Man, my name is Alejandro Barrientos, and I'm a co-owner along with my wife and executive chef at Curbside Bistro. You okay? As soon as I got into culinary school, the first day I walked into the kitchen and I started seeing, and you got your chef whites and your chef hat and everything else, I fell in love with it. And I told my wife, she was my girlfriend at that time, I told her, I'm like, give me 1 year. Give me 1 year. Let me see if this is for me. Let me dedicate my life to, culinary school. And if I like it, then, we'll see where it goes. But if not, then I'll go back to those fields. I can always go back to work. That's men, Adrian? Yeah. And so I read every book. I looked online. I worked a whole lot. And I just worked day and night, practicing my knife skills, my cuts, my beef cuts, the name. I learned some French just so I can, some of the recipes and everything else. And it was just, that's all it was, just hard work. I dedicated my life to that craft, to my passion, and just worked really, really hard at it. Crazy back here, man. I love the adrenaline, the cooking, just the pressure of it. Like you got tickets coming in, and then even though it's a high pressure and it's really, really fast, you got to cook. You still got to cook with finesse and great. You can't just like a balance of a rock and roll concert and like ballet. I have a huge imagination. So let's say I see a peach or I see a fruit or something like that. I start building this story about being at my grandma's peach farm. And okay, what do I want to see from this? Or, pecans or beef or anything or stew. And I'm like, okay, if, like, let's say it's Tuscan wedding soup. Okay, this soup, she'd probably give it to me when I'm sick. Well, how would she prepare it? It'd have a bunch of love in it. It'd have, rich flavors, broth. And so I kind of make up this backstory on this dish to give me the inspiration, and it just goes from there. And it's really the product of what I want to see highlighted. What feeling do I want to bring up when somebody eats it? Do I want to bring up, old food memories? Because everything we eat, we have it tied to a certain memory. So that's the hardest thing as a chef or somebody that cooks, is realizing your voice, your style, your techniques. Because again, we're artists. All artists, you might have the same paintbrush, you might have the same paint, or whatever medium you're working with, charcoals or oil-based paint or anything else. But it's your job to, portray your voice, portray what means to you, and put it out there on the dish. And that's the hardest thing to do as a chef, because everybody has the same ingredient. Everybody has the same recipe. So for you to add your personal touch and not feel like you're copying somebody else or influenced by somebody else, that's probably the hardest thing. So there's been several times where I've wanted to quit. And there's been situations that have made me want to quit. But I've been persistent, and I prayed, and I knew I was on a path where God wanted me to be. And I just, I'm extremely humbled. We really shouldn't be right now in the position we're at. So I consider myself very blessed.
My art is just really a form of study. Scholars write books, and I do that with my images. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my artist studio. My name is Amy Yemin Kim, and this is mainly a photographic studio located in the University of Texas Permian Basin. I'm a visual artist. I usually mostly work in photography, a little bit of video, and installation form. I remember being around the art department and so on at a very young age and observing some of that. However, after that, I had very little connection with artists. This is kind of a Korean thing. At the time, you usually studied English, law, or business. And the females usually study English. I wanted to go to art school, and I started late too. I was probably at the time about in my late 30s. So I was the oldest graduate student in the program. I was, again, a little bit intimidated to start, but another friend who's teaching, she said, just immerse yourself. I'm not interested in like the art form as a personal form of expression, but more like kind of an intellectual investigation. So, yes, visual aesthetic is important, but it's not everything to me. Photography is just kind of one of those things I hear a lot. Oh, it's a truth. We're documenting it, and it's a true form. But it's really not. It can be very manipulative. It can be very slippery. The term documentary it's telling the truth. Well, like how? So, and that's something I think play with in my images. To what extent does a photograph tell the truth? My most recent project is called the Wolf Camp Catalog. Here's a plexi cutout. And this term is, if you live in this area, it's familiar. The Wolf Camp Shale is the geological formation where all the oil is coming out of, where they're drilling. So it's in the newspaper pretty frequently in the news. And it was not an accessible area. It started before the pandemic, but almost during the pandemic. I stopped there's a highway called I-20, and I stopped every 3 miles and just photographed random things. This one is at the sand dune in Monahans, which is not too far from here, and it's just sort of surreal area if you go and see this beachy white sand in the middle of the desert. Some scenes are more documentary-like. This was from a drill site, one of those temporary homes, offices actually on a drill site. This was on the rig. I was fortunate to go on the rig. Part is the display. I think that's very important. So, and then once the images are made, the installation and the display, of course, is all part of the dialogue and investigations. In my work, I want the viewers to like experience photography. So it's just not seeing, but sort of experiencing with our entire body. Like some exhibitions, I put photos on the floor so people can step on it. Sometimes I've printed it on cake so we can eat the photos. Again, I'm interested in viewers being able to flip through and look at some of these images. The visitors are welcome to handle these images just as is, so they're not really meant to be precious fine art photos, not these one anyway.
Everything is an art form, and it all depends how you look at it and what you think of it. Hello, and welcome to Black Tulip in Odessa, Texas. My name is Edgar Salasar, and I'm a floral designer. I was raised in Mexico in a small town, El Mulato, which is in the Chihuahuan Desert. And my floral side of it comes from my grandmothers, my mother, and my sisters. They all grew their own flowers, and we used to design with them when I was a little boy. Growing up in the small town, small village in Mexico, resources were not available as, you know, you're gonna grow up to be a florist, you're gonna grow up to be an artist, you're gonna grow up to do something that has to do with art. Not until my parents decided to come to the US. I remember very vividly one of my sisters receiving a dozen roses and me asking her, what's going on? And she explained to me, you know, it was a local flower shop that had delivered a dozen roses for her anniversary that my brother-in-law had sent. And at that time, I knew that the love that I had for flowers that my grandmother and my mother had been doing for so long, not to sell, but to celebrate our tradition, which was Dia de los Muertos, which is Day of the Dead, that I could actually make something here and be able to make a career out of it. A lot of people will ask me sometimes, like, well, what is it that you're gonna make? And sometimes I don't know what I'm gonna make, not until I actually start making it and I start thinking of the classes that I've taken or inspiration from other bigger designers. I start to just let go and just let be. So right now what I'm making is gonna be a flower arrangement using some stuff that is local from the area. Now, of course, we have mesquite, we have yucca. So we'll be using some yucca to bind our stuff, which is this one right here. So we're just gonna deconstruct this. So we're doing some type of sculpture just to get a little bit of elevation into the piece itself, and just binding and finding a comfortable piece where this can actually stand. And this will be the basin that we'll use for our water to add some flowers to it. So whenever somebody says, you know, that making flowers is not an art form, this is what I like to show them. And this is my art. I fell in love with creating with fresh flowers because of the message of the lesson that the fresh flowers give us. You know, I appreciate that flower because just like a lot of things in life, you know, at one point they're not gonna be here. And flowers teaches us that at one point, you know, you're looking at something so beautiful that someone created for you, or somebody gifted you something that is a fresh cut flower arrangement. Enjoy it, because as a lot of things in life, nothing lasts forever. I think our floral industry is changing. I feel that it's changing, and I'm very happy and fortunate to be a part of it in this era, in this time. I want to be able to tell people that flowers are an art form. And I can only pray that a lot of flower shops will take that concept of putting more art where they are already creating art. You have to love what you do. You have to have a passion for it. And like any art form, you have to have a passion for it. If you have the passion, that passion is gonna take you places that you never dreamt of being.
When I turn an image, I want people to see something that you have not even paid attention to. Because in life, we have to turn our scenarios from bad to good.
Welcome to the art studios at the University of Texas, Permian Basin. This is where I make my art.
I'm Mariana Flores, and I am an interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary artist. Just express art through the form of 2D and 3D design. My story is I have a single parent, and my main influence is they grabbed a word from God, and we came from South America with nothing. She was a registered nurse, won a lot of money, and she left everything. She left her 12 years of teaching to come here, and we started building churches, we started helping people, and we lived in a car, you know? But we were so happy that we didn't know what we were going through, you know, because it was help the need, help those in need, help people. And so I'm very, very passionate about my art and why I make art. One of the areas that I mostly work in is in the area of printmaking, and printmaking is something that speaks to my heart so much. Before I really didn't understand it, but after playing around with a little bit of this medium, I tended to research about it, and the university learning that this is one of the mediums that is going extinct, and it is really sad because it is a medium where everything started, where printing the first newspaper and things like that begun. Who doesn't like to be heard? Who doesn't like to have someone that I can at least pay attention to and have another vision of what a Christian person is, rather than what you believe based on the stories that you've heard of different Christian people. So it's kind of like a mindset of being like, wow, you don't judge me, you don't, no, like we're not called to judge. I'm not called to judge, but I'm called to make art a little bit better and not just something for riots and political events, which is something that I'm trying to stay in base of. I'm not a regular artist. I'm not an artist that you see anywhere out there, because it is, my work is inspired by scripture, and that is really controversial here. In my art itself, and the art that I try to make, it's more for reaching the lost. It's more for reaching and saying, hey, I was there once too. I was there trying to be that person of wanting to live another day. So it is more of a reaching out to those in need. Everything comes with pain. Everything comes from being able to break or being able to tear, which is okay. And in today's world, we have to just pay attention and realize that everything's going to die and decay, but how can I make a difference and to, make someone's day or make someone's day a little bit better, and be like, I can really like interact with you and share the same story that what we've been through. I make art to reach the lost. I make art because I want people to know that there is hope. Not just because you saw a piece, does it stop there? There's a scripture in there for a reason, so you can also have hope.
While there are plenty of spots to view public art, my favorite is the view from the top of the parking garage at the downtown Marriott Hotel. From here you get a magnificent view of the Odessa Spire, the tallest lighted public art structure in Texas.
The Energy Tree was one of the first private commissions after the establishment of the public art program in 2014. Hotel owners Toby and Sandra Oaf wanted to commission a piece that would welcome people to Odessa while also representing the energy industry, which is so vital to the Permian Basin.
Here we are at Ferdinand, our 3-story mural commissioned by Ernesto Morange in 2022 to adorn the city's parking garage. Ernesto took inspiration from the wildlife and also from nature around West Texas. The success of Ferdinand led Odessa Arts to create a mural assistance program to be able to put murals across the city. In 2021, we worked with the Ector County Independent School District to commission a mural by artist Nakota Witskin celebrating 100 years of educational success in Odessa. In 2004, local philanthropist Dick Gillum partnered with art professor Chris Stanley and quarry owner Connie Edwards to create this 3/4 replica of Stonehenge here on the campus of University of Texas Permian Basin. In order to function as an observatory, the longitude and latitude were set for this region. On summer solstice, the shadow of the heel stone located across the street will penetrate directly into the center of this monument.